Okay, so we're going to move on now to the third of the three products in the Expression range, Expression Web Designer. My name's Wayne Smith. I'm the product manager for Expression Web Designer. And it's my great pleasure to show you this tool this afternoon. We're going to give it a little bit more depth than we did at PDC. Any of you who saw the tool presented at PDC by my colleague Brian Colbfarm would know that he spent about 2 minutes, 47 seconds showing this tool in the overall keynote. We're going to do it a little bit more justice this afternoon. We're going to round it up to probably, say, the nearest 3 minutes or something. We're going to try and give it a full hour and really drill down into some of the features that really makes this a fantastic tool. So Expression Web Designer, what is it? It's a tool for helping you designers to create great standards-driven websites. Standards are so important to everything we do in the world of web design. And we've got a tool here built from the ground up with exactly that in mind, building standards-driven websites. All the standards we need are there, XHTML, CSS, XAML is not part of it. Just seeing if you're awake there, well done, excellent. This is the other track, remember. This is the bottom track in the diagram that Brad showed earlier. We're talking about web here and web standards. You're going to be seeing cascading style sheets. You're going to be seeing XML. You're going to be seeing XSLT, a whole heap of cool stuff. Now, I'm not here as the product manager to take credit for this product, much as I'd love to. I'm joined by some guys from the dev team. Hassan Chaicha on the front here is going to be coming up on stage for the Q&A at the end. Now, yeah, hey, look. Whoa! Give it up. Give it up for the dev team. Get the marketing guy off stage. No, Hassan and I had a bit of a battle here. We both wanted to show you this tool because it's so good. We really wanted you to, I'm going to do it. And he said, no, I want to do it. We were fighting so much, we both got sent home. No, seriously, we did both get sent home. And completely away from it, our bosses decided that they were going to get someone else to do this presentation. And it was someone who we were very confident in. We found out who this person was, and we know it's someone you're going to know very well. Whether you know her from books, from training sessions, from seminars, you will know her. When I first heard of her many, many years ago, I assumed she was French, actually. Because that's a really cool French name, Linda.com. I thought, that's really cool. And then someone pointed out to me, actually, that's the company name, it's Linda.com. Her name is Linda Weinman, and she's going to sort of take the tool right through it from start to finish, show you as many features as we can. So will you please welcome on stage from Linda.com, Linda Weinman. Woo! Come on, give it up. Now, the reason we were confident that this was going to go so well is that Linda's been working with this tool for many, many months now. She's really had loads of months to immerse herself in.
Yeah, try less than a week. Right?
You've had the tool less than a week.
Less than a week.
You said she'd had it for months. Okay, but you're a big Windows user, so you'll be able to. You've grabbed the hold of the tool.
No.
You're not a Windows user?
No.
You're a...
I'm a Mac user.
It's going to go brilliantly. Nothing's going to go wrong. Okay, so you've had it for a week. You're a Mac user. I'm going to leave you in the very capable hands, ladies and gentlemen, of Linda Weinman. I'm going to stay up on stage here just in case you made a little...
I would appreciate it, if anything goes wrong with the operating system, I'm going to be totally lost.
The stage is yours.
Excellent. And is this something I can do away with?
Yeah.
In many ways, I feel like somewhat of an imposter showing off this tool because I do not spend day in and day out writing CSS, writing HTML, creating web pages. About 11 years ago, I wrote a book called Designing Web Graphics, and it was the first book that was ever written for designers to learn how to create media for the web, and its focus was really on how do you optimize JPEGs and how do you optimize GIFs. And this was during the age when you needed a separate program to make an animated GIF versus a transparent GIF. And authoring for the web was this sort of mysterious science. And if you were on the web itself, you might be able to find an article about how to make an image map and how to write HTML, and you'd find everything in different places. And there was nothing at all written about how to be a designer and how to get images and how to make web pages that looked anything other than just very generic, which at the time was all that the web supported. And in many ways, I am part of the problem that is being corrected today, because I'm a visual designer advocate. I've taught at art schools. I have a training company, have online training, mostly for creative professionals, mostly for designers and light developers, but with a real emphasis on creative tools. And so the truth about designers is that they care a lot about what things look like, and they're very stubborn. And if something doesn't allow them to make something look good, they will find a workaround, or the way, maybe good is a subjective term, but the way they want it to look. So the history of HTML is that it comes from markup language. And it's just supposed to describe the structure of a document. It really never was intended to be a visual design language. Yet people like myself and lots of other people tricked it into being something that it was never supposed to be. And today, to fast forward 11 years since I wrote that book, web standards are extremely important for a number of reasons, and keeping the visual presentation separated from the content is more important than it's ever been, so that materials that are published via the web today are going to last and work in the future, work on different devices, work under different scenarios. So it's kind of neat to see a tool. When I first started off writing about the web and visual design, there weren't even any visual HTML editors. And then this whole breed of visual HTML editors have been on the market for the last probably 8 years. And about 4 years ago, a shift started to happen when CSS started to emerge as a really important standard, and separating the structure from the presentation became so important. And so all of the visual HTML editors that are out there had to sort of unteach everybody the practices that they learned, how to make things look precise, and instead move over to other methods, most specifically CSS. So what's really, to me, cool about Expression Web Designer is that from the ground up, it's brand new. And it really doesn't have to unteach anybody or work with legacy ways of doing things. It just right out the gate supports web standards. And so without further ado, I'm going to go in and do a demo. And I'm really honest in that I've had this tool for less than a week, and I don't normally use Windows. So I'm a little bit nervous about this. But anyway, hopefully it will all go well.
You're nervous.
So the first thing that you would notice is that when you go to the File New dialog, that you can create either a page, an HTML page, a .NET or ASP.NET page, or a CSS page, or a website. And I'm going to go over to website, and here I have the page pane that allows me to create one of those individual pages or work on a website. And there are 3 types of websites I could create: a single page website, an empty website, or use the import website wizard, which I can't do on stage because I don't have time for my presentation, but I've actually imported my husband's website that he created in 1995 because it has a lot of really bad tags that aren't going to validate properly. And I'll show that to you at the end of the presentation. But basically, I think it's really convenient to be able to import a website into an HTML editor, because it allows you to suck something down that you've worked on and bring it in, and you don't have to use other tools to do that. And this product has a really nice way of organizing all your files and assets, and you can just sort of right out the gate work on an existing website. Also new to Expression Web Designer is this idea of a template, and I'm just going to use the arrow key, not there, to show you the preview of all the various home pages. These are all professionally designed templates, and I'm going to go ahead and go to this one, and hopefully this is going to work. Because another thing that Wayne failed to mention is that we are working with alpha software here. And so I have had it crash a few times. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Actually, let me say save this and open it. And what I've done is I've opened up a template. Now, it might have looked like it was just a home page, but if I go ahead and open some of the different pages, I'm just going to get some of them open. You'll see that it's a full-fledged website here. In fact, I'll go ahead and preview it in the browser. And all of those examples that I showed are fully linked websites with just, proxy information that you can swap out and change. And so it's kind of a nice little feature that it ships with some content that you can just modify if that's what you need to do. It's all based on a master DWT, dynamic web template document. And this is the same as what you would find in Front Page, as what you would find in Dreamweaver, as what you would find in Go Live. It's a standardized format, dynamic web template. So if you've worked in some of those other tools and you wanted to bring your templates into Expression Web Designer, you could. And you might notice if I open one of the other pages, if I roll my mouse over the top header information or the footer information, I have this sort of symbol that shows that I can't edit anything, and that's because that is the part that is dynamic, and I would come into the DWT document, and that's where I would swap out my own logo, create my own links, change my own information up here. I'm just going to change one little. That was interesting. Maybe the keypad doesn't work on this. There we go. And I'm going to note that this shows up with an asterisk. That means it hasn't been saved when I go ahead and save it. I'm warned that there are 15 files attached to this, and when I click yes, it goes in and it updates every single page, so that now when I click over to one of the pages, you'll see that it's updated with the phone number that I just put in. These templates, like everything else in Expression Web Designer, are built to web standards. And what that means, if I go in, I can show you that there's a design view, which we're looking in right now, which emulates how the page would render in a browser. And then there's a split view, which shows the code and the design view all together, and then there's a code view. So if I scroll up to the very top, one of the features that you may notice right away is that this has a doc type. And the doc type is XHTML 1.0 transitional. I have a little preferences area, if I click on it, that I can show you that you can set documents up with all the standard doc types. You have secondary schemas and different schemas for your CSS as well, and everything is quite current. And I can also, if I go to the split view right now and I cut this doc type out, well, before I do that, notice that down here in the status bar that it says standard, and if I take the doc type and remove it and then click back on the design view, you'll notice that some of the styling is no longer being honored, and that it also says down here, I don't know if it's possible to read, it is, that we're now in Quirk's rendering mode. So it's giving you feedback about what doc type is being used or if none is being used. And then if I want to go stick that back in here, I can use this nice little feature called code snippets. And you can save your own custom code snippets, but if I don't remember how to write that whole doc type myself, I can just press enter and it's memorized a string of code, and that code can be anything. So I can save all my own code snippets if I want. And then I also have something that is a lot of hooks that are built into the product that recognize what type of doc type I'm using. So there's something called IntelliSense in here. If I go and start to write some code, I'm going to just start by writing a p tag. Let's see, that's not a good example. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and write something that doesn't exist called bad tag. Okay, bad idea. Let's go down here. So if I were to just press the letter P, you can see that it's, if I then press tab and close the tab, it automatically puts the closing tag in there because it knows that it's XHTML 1.0 transitional here. And if I were to do something like type something that doesn't exist, like I'm going to invent a tag called bad tag, notice that it puts a little squiggly line underneath it like it would in Word if you'd misspelled something. So it kind of gives you some warning that that's not a real tag. So it's got some nice features inside the actual HTML area when you're typing that are really useful. And I'm going to go ahead and close this site down, although what was really interesting to one of my coworkers was that you can actually open multiple sites. So maybe I should show that just for a second. I'm going to go ahead and open another site, the Fabricam site. And I do have 2 sites open at this time. So apparently that is not very typical for many HTML editors. So that was kind of a wow thing for someone. Are you guys wowed? No? OK, wow. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and open. This is an ASP.NET site. And so it has a, and I am not an ASP.NET programmer in any way, shape, or form. But I'm going to go ahead and open up the page. And this is the master page, which is somewhat similar to the DWT that I showed in the template, in that it's got the header, persistent header information, a persistent sidebar, and a persistent footer. And I can show you another document in here called Contact Master, which actually has another nested element inside the Fabricam.master. So you can, just like with the DWT, you can nest elements and then notice that the header information is blocked. I can't edit it. I can only come in and edit this area. And so it's a little bit different than a dynamic web template in that if I were to make a change to the master, it's a dynamic page and it would get served to my audience. It wouldn't update and ripple through the whole website the way that it did in the template file. But this entire site is built to web standards. And one of the cool things that you can do is you can kind of click around, and everything that I touch, you may notice has got a little tab that says what the element is. And I have a lot of CSS control and different methods that I'm going to use to style my page and create the layout that I might not have in legacy HTML editors. So one of the things that I really like is I have these little crosshairs, which of course aren't wanting to appear. OK, there we go. And I can just pull down. I'm just pulling out a margin element right here. And so rather than working with the transparent GIFs and making them different lengths and widths, I'm working with web standards instead, just changing either the margin or the padding. There's actually a really nice little visual aid here that I can turn on, and it shows me all the margins and padding for everything if I want to have that turned on. It's a little distracting to leave it turned on all the time, but I think there's really easy ways in this tool to manipulate where things are going to be residing on the page. And the biggest story to me in the tool is its support of CSS, and I'm going to go ahead and expand some of these task panes as I'm going to kind of go in and show the CSS editor and the various features. One of the nice things is if I select anything on my screen, notice how it shows me on the left in blue what elements are being changed or what properties are being affected. And it can be really tricky in CSS because of the cascade to see how to change an element. So right here, the very bottom of my list, I have a ID selector called left_column. And with it selected, you can see that it's affecting the color, the font family, and the font size. If I drill up, it's showing me some of the other elements that are being inherited. And this is just a really nice visual presentation. I can use my arrows to sort of deconstruct how the rules are interacting with each other. And I think that's pretty slick. Did anybody like that one?
Yay!
I thought that was really cool. I also, have some really good feedback in that I can see that this rule is inside fabricam.css. If I just click on that link, it actually goes and opens up the CSS file and shows it to me. And with the Manage Styles tab selected over here in this task pane, I can see what is going on this page specifically. So notice how some of the rules have circles around them, and that's showing me that those are all the rules that are in effect on this page. And I can also do things like I can look at these rules by type. So I can organize them in a different way. I could group all my classes together, all my IDs together, all my elements together, and they're color-coded. So you can see that the body elements are in blue, and any of the classes are in green, and any of the IDs are in red, and that's kind of cool. And I can also just show the styles that are used only in this page, and I can, kind of just have control over how I'm viewing this list. It can be extremely useful in just seeing how the document is organized. I also wanted to show how if I, wanted, let's say, to change the color right here, what I could do is I could come right into the CSS properties area and I can make an adjustment right here. So if I wanted to add a background color, let's say, I could either work with the standards window color picker, or all of the colors that are used in my document are already kind of stored for me and separated out, which I think is really nice. So if I wanted to, change a color and work from my color scheme that I've been building, I can do that. I also wanted to talk about, just from scratch, styling, creating styles and managing styles. And I think if I weren't working on such a complicated document, it might be a little bit easier for me to deconstruct. So I'm going to go into into a couple of pages that I created that are very plain vanilla. Let's get this open. Let's get that one open. And this, I would like to point out that I'm in something called auto mode. And if I double click on this bar down here and go into the CSS tab, it shows that these are my preferences for how the product is going to write CSS out of the gate. And I have the choice, let's say with my font and text, right now I'm going to make some changes to the font and text, that I could either have it automatically create classes or have it automatically create inline styles. I have different menus here for every single one of these preferences. I'm just going to leave them at the default for right now and show off a couple of things. It's really easy to select your elements even in design view. I can either triple click with my mouse to select all of that paragraph tag, or I can just click anywhere inside and just click on that little tab that pops up, or I can come up here to the tag selectors and I can select elements that way as well. And I'm going to go up and just use the standard Windows toolbar here and just pick a color. And notice when I do that, that instantly something, class is created. That was how my preference was set up. And it's named it Style 1. And I'm going to go select another paragraph here and give it a different color. And it's going to automatically make Style 2. And I'm going to make a third color. What do you think it's going to make? Style 3. However, if I come in and change my mind, and let's say that I want the second paragraph to also be pink, the product is smart enough to know that I don't need that Style 2 anymore. Cool. So it's not cluttering up my style sheet with a bunch of auto-generated styles that I didn't intend to make. It's intelligent. Also, if I wanted to take this off auto view, I'm going to go ahead and tell it that I want it to be manual. And going to add a background color to this paragraph, but I don't want it to be a class. I'd rather have it be an inline style. I'm going to say new inline style and just go for the heck of it and grab a different background color. And if I show you in design view, it did write that as inline code rather than the class. So I am really in control, even though I'm using something to automatically generate what kinds of styles it's going to create, it is going to allow me to manually override it and still use some of the visual design advantages. And I'd also like to show that I have a lot of links right here. This probably isn't, let me move this to an external file and then I'll show you how cool these links are. But in all kinds of pages, let me go to the Fabricam master and look at that code. You'll see that I have links everywhere inside the actual HTML. So this is a class right here, banner underscore small. I'm going to right click on it and say follow code hyperlink. And that just pops me right into the style sheet and highlights that particular code.
Nice. Yay.
Pretty cool. And I also have this other neat thing where I can go to code view and I can say previous code hyperlink. And that takes me back to the document that I started from. And I thought that was pretty darn slick. But for right now, in this styles document that I have I've made, I've done everything as a embedded style sheet, and really the better way to work would be to make external style sheets. So how would I do that? I'm going to go ahead and create.
Difficult.
Hey. I'm going to go ahead and create new CSS, and I'm going to go ahead and save this as MIX demo. And I'm going to go back to the document that I was styling, and I'm going to choose Attach Style Sheet. Notice in the dialog box that I can attach a single file, which is what I am going to do, or I can say attach to all HTML pages. Ooh. And I think that's pretty cool, that you could very easily attach an external style sheet to all of your pages, and that can save hours of work, because you literally would have to go into every document and link them. But for this purposes of this, I'm just going to go navigate out to the CSS. Oh, did we crash?
No, you cancelled. Just go back to
I canceled it. Okay, thank you.
Attach style sheet.
So I want to attach style sheet and browse. And I'll pick my MIX demo document, click open, and I'm going to say OK. And notice how the MIX demo.css document has appeared over here. And the way that I transfer from one document to the other is to select these two items and just drag them on to that document.
Hey.
And if I go look at the what was empty, you now see that the two styles are there. And what's even cooler is I can reorder them from this little window too. Like if I didn't like the order they were in, I can just drag one above the other. And where that becomes really compelling is when I have a very large CSS document like this one over here that was styling the Fabricam homepage. And here I can change the order, or maybe even I want to make a discontiguous selection. Like let's say I want to move all of these styles above outer. It's that simple. Whoa. I think that's pretty cool. So everything moved. No cutting and pasting, nothing like that. I'm going to go back to this other document that I've made, and this document is already attached. Let me say show all styles. It's already attached to the Fabricam.css, but it hasn't been styled yet. But I wanted to show something kind of cool. Like notice that I have 4 instances of an H2 tag here. And if I select one, and then, let's see, I have to switch over to apply styles. And let's say that I want to select all 4 instances. I just styled 4 elements all at once. And that's pretty slick. No one's oohing and ahhing, but I'm told that's really slick. I don't do this every day, but at least our CSS editor is really excited at that feature. I can also come into this document, and let's say I want to go back to my Fabricam.css, and let's say I want to go change the name of something. So, oh, actually, let me do that from here. So let's say that rather than form group, I'm going to go rename, and let's say I'm going to call it form, Actually, I don't have to put the little dot. Form mix group. And when I click OK, it goes out and updates not only this CSS document, but everywhere it's referenced throughout the whole site. Whoa. And that was without a search and replace. That's just built in. Thank you. Oh.
You're getting them warmed up now.
I guess so. I don't know. I'm not, you know.
If you want them warmer, I've got the laser here, okay?
So then another thing that I might want to do is I might want to go back to the multi-document and just select something and show how you would apply a style. So applying a style, I would go to the Apply Style task pane, and I'm just going to go ahead and click on a style, and it's that simple. Once you have one built, you just click on it, and it applies it. If I wanted to come in and modify a style, I would right-click on it, and I would choose Modify Style. And I don't know if you can see that some of these items are bolded? This is just another way to deconstruct what's going on with a rule. It's showing me that the background and has a property and a value, and the border does, and the box model and the font do. And so if I wanted to come in and modify something, I could very easily see what elements are attached to this rule and modify them. And I think I love this little visual representation too that shows me what a margin is and what the border is and what the padding is, because sometimes it's hard to visualize the difference between those three things, and it allows me to go in and make a change, which I won't do, but instead I'll just make a new style from scratch. Let's go ahead and detach. Let's clear this style from the top H1, and I'm going to go create a new style. And if I just type the letter H, it's got that same IntelliSense built in here to the tag names, and so it's already populating it with an H1, but it would choose, if I, let's say I want to type input, I'll just type the letter I in. Notice that it's filling in input for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the H1 because that's what I want to do. And I want to apply it to this selection and define it in the current page. And let's say that I want to change the text color. So I'm going to go ahead and come down here. And let's say I want that to be green. I'm getting a nice little visual feedback down here. If I click apply instead of OK, it's going to apply to my page as well, so I can kind of see what I'm doing. Let's say that I want to give it a border. So I'm going to uncheck all of these same border properties. Let's say I want to give it a bottom dotted line border, and I want to make it medium, and I want to give it a different color. And it was about that easy to create a new style. And so I think that the style, the CSS editor, I've really never seen anything this robust, especially in a 1.0 tool. And at least from our web developer's perspective, she felt that this would be really helpful to her. And I don't know, what do you all think? It's going to be my presentation of the CSS editor. Okay. I would also next like to talk about dynamic web content. And I'm going to go ahead, just because I have so many files open, and I'm going to close the site and reopen it, just so I can kind of clean out all my files. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the Fabricam master. And I'm going to create a new site, a new page, create from master page. And this is going to allow me to create a new ASP.NET 2 page. And as far as I know, this is the only kind of visual editor where you can do this. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I've learned how to do this. And I'm going to go ahead and browse and create a new file. Let's see. Help me with this part.
Just click Fabricam Master at the bottom.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm doing. I'm selecting what I'm going to base the new page off of, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and just rename it up here. So we will call this XML Master. So you can see it looks exactly like my other fabricam.master page did. I'm going to go ahead and unlock this content right here and say create custom content. And over in the products folder, I have something called products.xml. And I'm going to just go ahead and open up the XML document. It's simply raw data. It looks a lot like database data. It has records with various fields, and the fields are repeated over and over again, and it has custom content in each field. And so as you all well know, XML is a very common document exchange format, and basically all I have to do to insert it into this page, that products.html, is drag and drop it into this region, and boom, it populates that area. Now there's more. I can sort this because it's XML. I can alter its appearance in many ways, including the way that it's sorted. And so I'm going to, instead of have it be sorted by description as it is right now, I'm going to sort it by price. And it just changed. And if I wanted to, I could go ahead and choose to save this document. I could save out an XSL file. So this program writes XSL as well, which is pretty cool. I haven't really done anything too exciting to save at the moment, so I'm not going to. But I happen to also have an existing XSL file. Notice that I have some placeholders, like I have wall_tv.gif, maybe indicating there's a GIF file related to this record, which there is. So all I have to do with the XSL is the same thing, drag and drop it onto the page. And woohoo.
Whoa!
Quite magic. And I have this, this task pane here called Data Source Details, and it's kind of cool. I can sort through each record and actually look to see what content is in there, which I think sometimes, that sort of information can be really hidden from you. So I like that I have this ability to look through the different records. And let's say that I wanted to make a couple of changes to this page. I'm not completely happy with how it's structured. So one thing I might try to do is everything here says product detail, it's sort of generic. So I'm going to go ahead and drag name in front of the word product, and notice that it's gone and pulled from the XML and it's put the exact correct product name in front of every record. And I'm just going to go in and delete the word product. So, oops, too much. Yay. I did Control-Z instead of Command-Z. That's a hard thing for Mac people. And so you can see that I have now altered the XSL. And I also think that the spacing right here is a little bit tight. So I'm going to go in and just once again play with that little favorite feature I have of padding. And notice that it's not just affecting this one record, but it's rippling through the entire page here.
Nice.
I think that's pretty sweet. Now, I don't have I don't know if I have an internet connection. I actually haven't really tested this. But I have another page. Notice that I have a folder called RSS. And you can actually do exactly the same thing that I just showed you with XML with RSS. I think this data is a day or two old whenever Wayne gave it to me. But you can also drag and drop RSS exactly the same way that I just showed that you can do with XML and XSL. And then the other cool thing that you can do is you can work with controls, the ASP.NET 2 controls. So I'm going to go ahead and create another create from master page. And this time I'm going to go ahead and browse, and I'm also going to base it on the Fabricam master. And go ahead and click OK. And this one I'm going to save as I'll just say controls. And I have this nice little toolbox over here. First, let me unlock the region. Create custom content. And I'm going to go back over to this toolbox. And you can drag and drop tags onto the page or forms. But I also have this category called ASP.NET controls. And in here, I'm just going to go ahead and grab a calendar, which is a pretty hard thing to program if anyone's ever tried to do so. And I have some different formatting options. So this is just like an out-of-the-can little widget that I can put on any web page I want because it ships with this program. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And if I preview this in a web browser, I have a completely functional working calendar. And notice also that the ASP.NET development server is launching. So that also ships with Expression Web Designer. It's not something that you would publish your whole website to, but it's great for testing locally on your machine. And so I can just go through, and here's May, June, fully functional calendar that ships with the program. And I don't have a lot of other controls. I know there's one in here that's already been created. That Wayne created. I'm going to go ahead and open up one of these pages that contains a little address control, and I'm going to go ahead and preview that. And you can see that it has, maps in here, and it's got different telephone numbers, and these are just built-in little controllers that you can program and make your own. So pretty cool. So that shows off some of the dynamic types of pages that you can create in Expression Web Designer. What do you all think?
Cool.
Pretty cool. And I wanted to show a couple of the reports and also talk a little bit about publishing, and then I'm going to turn this over to Q&A. But I, just for giggles, imported a really old website that won't be built to standards because standards didn't even exist when it was created. So I'm going to go ahead and open my husband's site, stink.com. And stink.com, we can go look at it. He's an illustrator, and this has got his illustration portfolio, and he's very proud that he hasn't touched it since 1997. So if I roll over, I've got some little JavaScript rollovers, and he's a nut, so I love him. But anyway, coming back over to the website, let me go ahead and close. See, I have two websites open again. That's supposed to be cool. Let's see. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and run some reports. So the first report that I'm going to do is an accessibility report. And I can have it check all the pages in the website, which I'll do because it's really pretty sexy at how fast it goes. And I'm going to have it check for all of these different standards to find out if there are any problems with the accessibility of the website. So I'm going to press the check button, and it's retrieving the list of pages to check. And it's going through, kind of looking like it's going through a bunch of different web pages right here. It has just come up with okay, 466 problems in 161 pages. And some of them are telling me that I need to do a manual check. And what that means is that they're just sort of general practice things. They're not specific to any page. They're just general things that are wrong with the whole website. So, for example, there are no alt text tags in here at all. And let's roll over another one. Be sure that I'm using style sheets. Yep, not doing that. And then I can also come into individual pages, and when I click on the individual page, it takes me right to the offending problem and tells me that the image is missing a text equivalent. So really kind of helps me deconstruct what's wrong with the accessibility of my website and lets me build to standards, pull in old sites and build them to standards, which is pretty cool. I'm going to go back and do another test. Let's this time do a compatibility report. And let's check it against XHTML 1.0 transitional. What do you think is going to happen? And I'll do all pages again. And we'll check. And I just think the sheer speed of this is rather impressive. It just went through 161 pages and found 3,125 compatibility problems. So
it's got some work to do.
It's doing its job, and it's explaining to what are the depreciated tags and why, and this attribute BG color is outdated and shouldn't be used anymore. And if I click over here, it's going to go right to that area. There's the BG color that I'm not supposed to use anymore. I'm supposed to put it into a style sheet. And so I have some really nice reporting here. And I'm not going to do any uploading, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about how you can upload. Let's see, where am I going? Site. And I'm just going to go over to the site settings and no.
Copy website.
Copy website. And I can, publish to WebDAV, FTP, to regular file system. I have all these really great abilities to strip out bad code. So if I don't want my comments to be in my code, or I want to strip out any dynamic web template comments or any other kind of information, I can just, say I don't want the website to go up with those comments and check them and click OK. And so that concludes my demo. As I said, I've only worked with the tool for really a couple of days, and while I was studying how to use it, Wayne was in Australia, he was in Great Britain, he had a health issue that came up. We've had like a very difficult time connecting and training me in the product, yet I feel like it was pretty easy to pick up, and I think it's so important to be publishing to web standards, and I know that so many people are using Windows. Obviously, I guess I'm not one of them, but we all know the majority of people.
You will be. You will
people are using tools that are inferior to this and are sort of littering the web with non-standard web pages. And one of the things that I'm so excited about is this is really fairly idiot-proof in terms of not allowing you to write anything but a standard website. And I think that's a really impressive, good move on Microsoft's part, and I'm here to support it. So. Without further ado, I think we should open it up to questions.
Thank you very much, Linda.
Thank you.
Thank you. So thanks very much, Linda, for...
Shall I go away?
No, don't you dare go anywhere.
I don't know if anybody has questions.
Stay there.
All right.
So just to sort of go through some of those things that you've seen there, we hope we've built a professional design experience, a whole great load of features in there to help you really do this job productive in a very productive way for designers. It's all about standards, as we've said. CSS is very key to that. You saw some great CSS features. We hope you agree that the way you can just manage styles and move them around, move them within documents, is very innovative, and we think we've done a great deal of work in making that work. The integration with rich data, being able to drag XML from any source and get it on your page and do all the XSLT stuff, in a very visual way is very compelling, we think. ASP.NET 2, great powerful server language you can use for developing stuff, great visual support within the tool. And as you saw right at the very end there, reporting and deployment, a very key part of it to make sure that what you do copy to your websites is absolutely great. When can you get hold of this to play with it? I know it's going to be the first question. If it's not the first question, it'll be the second. And if it's not the second, it'll be the third. So I'll tell you now, we were really hoping to get you a build for Mix, as some of you will have picked up. We just felt we had one or two little stability issues to iron out. Linda very gracefully worked her way through the bits that crashed, didn't you?
Yes.
Because it didn't crash
once, did it?
Which
is surprising.
No.
It crashed a lot while I was learning.
We've got a little bit of work to do and a little few features to iron out. Hassan, as soon as he leaves the stage here, is getting back on the plane to Redmond to go and sort those things out. And we're going to get a build out on the Expression website in June that you'll be able to download and play with these features. To remind you of what the website was that Brad mentioned earlier, Microsoft.com/Expression. We're going to open the floor now to Q&A on Expression Web Designer. Linda will stay up on stage, so if there are questions relating to what do you think of the product, Linda. If there are technical questions, Wayne. If Wayne's face goes white, it's Hassan. Who's got the first question then? First one from the left.
Hi. One of your competitors with Dreamweaver, one thing that I think they do right is, because things do change very quickly, the tool itself is very extensible. So if it's something where, they haven't created it yet, users have created it. And that extensibility, is that something that's planned for Web Designer?
Do you want to take that?
Sure.
Yep.
So Web Designer is a very rich object model, and it is quite extensible. There's a lot of things we didn't show you here, but when you ship, for example, if you want to insert video or some other components, there'll be an add-in object model that people are going to be developing to. So expect to see a very rich community come together with Expression, the whole website. It's in the works right now, but when it goes live, expect to see that there as well.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
And just to add on to that, if there's stuff that you see in terms of extensibility that you're looking for in the product that you don't see there yet, we're very interested in your feedback. There will be, on Expression at one point, an ability to add feedback. We're all looking for it. So please, if you don't see what you're looking for, let us know.
You showed that the product works with Dreamweaver style templates and ASP.NET 2.0 master pages.
Yeah.
Is there any way to translate DWT into an ASP.NET 2.0 template?
So we don't have a mechanism within the product to do that. That's something that could be done, could be added as an add-in if someone wants to do that.
Is that something you think would be useful to you?
Well, I think that a lot of traditional HTML
Yes, and down the front, yeah.
developers.
Okay.
Sorry. Could
So
use
you know,
that.
the good news is that if we don't do it, like I mentioned before with the add-in and the object model, other developers can easily come in and build solutions on top of Expression Web Designer,
So
such as
just
that.
a very quick show of hands. Who has sites with DWTs in or use DWTs? Okay. Who would like to be a simple tool to be able to convert that to ASP.NET master pages? Thank you.
Great.
Write it down, Eric. Got it.
I've got a quick question. So there's a feature on seeing what style rules apply to particular elements, sort of like the Mozilla DOM inspector. Should I just assume that those are for IE7 selector rules, or you know, whatever IE is installed, or what's interpreting what rules apply to what elements?
I can take that. So one thing that wasn't shown is when Linda was showing the CSS properties, it's showing all the properties. There's actually a button on the top that you can hit that says Summary. And what it's doing is, you know, one of the things I want to point out, what's so powerful about this product is also its site management. You notice how quickly it's able to do things. Linda was actually showing how you could say, look, I want to see how many instances in this page do I have of a specific style, and actually knew how many. So you could go apply another style. In the CSS property grid, if you hit Summary, it's smart enough to go and find out, you know, I had this rule, then this rule, then this rule, and kind of just give you the history so you could dive into it. One thing we didn't show here is also there's CSS reporting in the product. So we can go and, you know, we have the notion that we know where all the style sheets are, we know where all the pages attached to it are. You can find errors in usage, styles that aren't used, and so forth. So the site management and the CSS integration is very, very rich. You might not see that in some other products, but combined, you got the coding tools, the design tools, and the site management tool together. Does that answer your question?
No.
You're talking about behaviors specifically, IE behaviors?
Yeah, so, well, so that...
So IE behaviors wouldn't be standards-based, so that's not something that we'd be building on top of right now. A lot of the new features you're seeing here, it's going to work cross-browser. So it'd be JavaScript, it'd be XML, it'd be XSL.
Okay, well, for example, what browsers, I mean, what's the rendering engine for displaying the preview?
Okay, that's a great question. So, so I'm kind of geeking out here because I know the innards of how the product works.
You geek away.
We spent a lot of time in the design surface making it work just great. So if you're familiar with, say, CSS Zen Garden, I highly recommend when you get this beta, go ahead and download a page or two and see how it compares. There's a lot of work that went into the rendering engine. That's why you notice in the status bar it says standards versus quirks. That's something we worked on. We wanted to be able to do pages without a doc type, pages with a doc type. And when IE7 comes out and the latest Firefox, you know, our goal is we want people to be building standards-based websites, and it's got to look right. So the design tool has to look right as well. With one note, though, the purpose of the design tool isn't to give you IE. It's to give you a rich design surface that you can build on top of. So that's where the differences will be.
One of the things you wouldn't see in IE clearly is like when Linda extended the margin and you can see the margin extend, that's clearly all stuff being encoded into our design service, not by using IE.
Sure.
Could you repeat that?
Can you repeat what you
Sure.
said?
So I was just saying that you would see, you saw in the demo that we, at one point Linda had extended the size of a margin on a div or on some piece of on a tab. And that's something that you could see with visual feedback, you can handle, where you can drag and pull. And that kind of innovation, that kind of trying to play in the design experience to give you a great experience yourself, like you're designing a web page, is something that we want to invest in body. And as a part of that, there's no way that we could do that if we were to use
Eric, why don't you go and stand by that microphone, sir?
Do you want mine?
Yes, sir.
Is there any sort of support for other application servers apart from ASP.NET, either now or planned for the future, for example, PHP?
So, no, not in the tool that we showed you here today. Obviously, as part of the whole expression story that Brad talked about earlier, we're working today to create tools for our own platform, ASP.NET. If you want to add PHP support, that's something that can be done through the extensibility architecture. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I actually asked Bill Gates that same question today, and he said it would be coming in the future.
You saw Bill Gates
I
today?
saw Bill Gates today. I had lunch with him.
How cool is that?
It's
You had
surprising.
lunch- you had lunch
I
with him?
didn't know I was going to be. I was invited to a lunch, and there he was. But that was the first question that I asked him.
We are
Yeah,
not
right.
worthy.
Yeah, right.
We are not worthy. Ma'am.
Yes, hi. Actually, for a clarification, that was my original question. So essentially, when you're talking about the design service, you're talking about a proprietary rendering engine within this particular tool, correct? So you are not using IE6 as the actual rendering engine for the design view.
That's correct. We're not using
So
IE6.
it's as if it's proprietary.
Built
so it's
from the
like
ground up.
Right. Okay.
right.
And so there's a means for external launch of browser, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so you can.
Yep.
All right. So
In fact, not only can you load another browser, but you can specify multiple browsers. You can have a list. You can choose which one you want to be your default. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So there's actually two follow-up questions. One has to do with how you're managing workarounds, hacks, and other related materials. Is there a functionality for conditional comments built into this?
I don't have the answer for that, but I can follow up and get back to you.
Because I just would find that very interesting if it is. Because right now, obviously, there's a big issue in the community moving toward IE7, and a lot of the recommendation coming out of Microsoft is where you don't want to hack, or there may be problems with hacks that have been used, obviously, and created for, based on browser parser bugs and things like that. Conditional comments is the Microsoft commentary as
Right.
to what people should be doing, whether that's a legitimate answer or not. I'm not one to argue at the moment, but it would be very interesting to hear what you plan for
I don't have an
that.
answer for you right now, but absolutely, there's millions of web pages out there that are targeting older browsers, and we want them to move up to standards-based.
Right.
And by the time IE7 comes out, I would expect that there'll be instructions and commentary and guidelines for how to do that properly.
Excellent.
We totally understand, there's all these websites out there built, with hacks, right? They had to get the job done, they had to do whatever it takes, and they knew the workarounds in CSS. And we will help those people to understand how to move from those sites to standards-based websites without having to do that.
Excellent. So final, just out of curiosity, question is, will it port to Mac? Or is that in the plans at all?
No,
Don't know.
no plans.
Close encounter of the Molly kind. So this might sound harsh, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So this all looks really, really cool. And when
That's not harsh at all. That's fantastic.
I'm not done yet. But when you compare it to the fairly limited improvements in IE7 standard support, why isn't the design surface from Expression IE7?
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Sure. So I think that there are some. Sorry. So I think there are some pretty good reasons about why you wouldn't want to use our design surface for IE. Like, for instance, we're about giving very, very rich functionality, and you're just at the beginning of this. Our hope is that in future versions we invest heavily in this, and you guys have, because you're professional designers and you care about experience, that's your whole career, that's your whole profession, and we want to give you a great design experience in the tools you use. And so that's our focus. We're like a laser on that. But that means that, okay, if you want to talk about now running with very low-end machines, you want to talk about, well, you've really got to worry whenever you talk about IE, you got to worry about security, and there are a number of other things that are very, very sensitive, and you want to very much lock down, and that's just not in alignment with what we want to do. In addition to, there's some difference in terms of target audiences. When you talk about IE, you talk about information workers, you talk about wanting to follow every little Windows guideline. When you talk about this tool, you talk about You guys are the experts in understanding usability and interactivity. And we want to give you creative ways that we maybe wouldn't want to show to, 7 billion Office users.
Yes, sir.
Is there, and maybe I know the answer to this, is there any linkage in this product to SharePoint services? Can I do anything with SharePoint services sites? And I guess another question is, what if any of this functionality is going to go back into Visual Studio?
I'll try that.
Yep.
So your first question about SharePoint, it's beta. We haven't quite figured out all the answers yet, so I can't give you definitive. That's still up in the works. Okay. As far as the second question, can you refresh my memory? And what was the second question again?
Visual Studio.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, functionality going into Visual Studio eventually.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is an effort for us to have a design surface that's extremely rich that can be used by various different products. So one thing I want to point out here is, we were talking about XHTML and CSS, and you saw a little bit about the ASP.NET development. That design surface that you get here in Expression Web Designer will match with Visual Studio. So the same experience. So if you have a developer working with a designer, and developers in Visual Studio and doing advanced ASP technology and gives it to designer, the designer's got a question, and the developer doesn't have to go back and forth. I mean, they can because they work great together now. But they could actually go into Expression Web Designer and use those same tools. So I'm kind of giving you a little insight. There's definitely some shared technology going on here so they can work great together so that you benefit. So you get the exact same experience in more than one product.
Can I ask a quick question about the data sources story that you have there? So you mentioned XML. There's a file out there, you could grab it. What about SQL, the other kind of data sources that you might find to expect in Visual Studio to be able to connect to and expose and bind data?
Yep, so you've got access to a range of different data sources, Access, SQL, etc., through the ASP.NET controls. We didn't show them here today because we only had a limited amount of time, but that's how you get access to
In fact, I want to add on to that. It's the same UI. So
Yeah.
if you learn how to do the same, if your workflow in Visual Studio to do your data binding and hook up your ASP.NET, once you master that, you can come to Expression Web Designer, and it's the same experience.
A couple questions. Does the product support themes as in ASP.NET? What themes with skin files, etc.?
So I do know that we support editing those themes, editing the CSS and so forth. But to give you an exact, do we render the themes, whatnot, I don't remember right now.
Right, in Visual Studio, you don't get to see what your skins and your CSS in the themes, what they look like in the designer.
Okay.
What about web parts?
As far as do we render web parts?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
And then a question for Linda. I'm developing an ASP.NET website. I got a Macintosh designer. What do I tell her to convert to Windows and this product?
I don't know. Maybe it's going to be this stuff. I wouldn't convert, personally. That's the honest truth.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I have a question regarding hardware. Do I need to throw out my one-year-old computer to use that new tool, or what is? Or let's put it more concrete. What is that? What are you running it on right now? Or do you have any minimum requirements?
So Linda was running this on her Dell something or other, Dell Inspiron, which is a pretty powerful beast, as you obviously noticed. I run it on a Toshiba M200 tablet, no problem at all.
In my group, everyone bought like the coolest new tablet and so forth. I've got this brick I've had for like 4 years, and it's cool because I've never had a problem with it with anything. And this stuff works just great on it. So I don't think you'll have any problems with performance.
Okay. Thanks.
Just quick. Full IntelliSense support on like VB.NET and C#, similar to Visual Studio.
So this product is targeting web designers. So we didn't spend a whole lot of time in the code view. There's a whole lot of stuff in there. For example, the CSS IntelliSense, you can pick the schema. It's awesome. Okay, the CSS IntelliSense is awesome. But you asked about VB.NET and so forth.
And
Those are more for professional developers, and the right product for that would be Visual Studio.
So if I had code that was not code behind, it wouldn't activate IntelliSense on custom objects? Or,
I have to go double check.
You know what I mean? Like if I
Yeah.
did my text box dot and would give me text and value and all that
So for
stuff.
ASP.NET,
Similar to Visual Web Developer?
yeah, I think we have the CBM for ASP.NET, and I'm pretty, well, I don't want to give you any definitives, but it's potentially possible that we will have that. Okay? It's really early right now. You know, I don't want to make any promises, and then you get the beta, and you're like, man, that guy said he was going to have that, and it's not there. I'd rather have you be surprised when you see it.
But remember what the customer technology preview process is at Microsoft. So in June, we're going to be giving you like the first release you can play with. Play with it. If you've got ideas, things you like, things you don't like, things you want, post it in the news group. These guys, Eric, Hassan, all these people, read this stuff. That's your way to make the product what you want it to be. So,
Just curious, is this an ASP.NET, I mean, an .NET 2.0 written product?
No.
So what is it?
So except for some of the small parts that are hosting ASP.NET, which clearly have a dependency on the .NET framework.
Yeah.
Right, so for rendering some of the .NET stuff, it clearly does use some .NET technology, but by and large, this is, in this release, not a .NET application, it's native code. Sorry. Yep, sorry. So I was just saying that other than the ASP.NET functionality, which clearly is .NET Framework dependency, it's all native code.
And to write extensions and plugins, we would use which tool?
So we provide both access to writing it in your add-ons in native code, but we also do provide some primary interop assemblies, and we're still working on this story, so I don't know what you'll get for beta, and I think we're still talking about what you'll get for RTM, but we clearly understand that people enjoy writing their add-ins in managed code, and we're looking at it.
okay, just got time for one more question before we have to finish. So.
The obvious, and I realize you can't give a definitive, but do you have any kind of a clue for RTM?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Seriously, you know, we can't give any indications. You know, we're working on it as fast as we can. You know, the indication that we're like 2 months away from giving you a first ETP shows that, you know, it's still work in progress. As soon as we feel it's ready, we're going to ship it, because that's how we make money. Isn't it, Hassan?
Yep.
Okay, we really want to thank you guys for your attention. Thanks for joining us this afternoon.